So in this recording, we will see how AWS Strands manages conversational history, right? If basically, like if I'm conversing with an agent, how does it maintain the context while answering subsequent questions, right? First, let's see an example of that, and then I'll go into the details of the code. Right? So this one is a simple Strands agent where I'm using Anthropic Claude 3.7, right, to create the agent. And I am looping and like for it to converse with the human, right? Um, so this is while true user taking the input of the user query, giving to the agent and printing the result, and then I'm waiting for again the human to give a ask a question, right? So let me run this. So let me ask who was the first prime minister of India? The first prime minister of India was Jawaharlal Nehru. He served as president. Right? So now I'll ask it. And uh, what about the 10th one? Now, does not, if it would not have recorded the context of the previous conversation, it would not know that I'm asking about a prime minister, right? But let's see whether it can answer. Yep, it is saying the 10th prime minister of India was PV Nurse. So it is actually maintaining the context. One more, and then we'll go to the code. And now I'll say, now that means who is the current prime minister? That's what I'm saying. Yep. So it is maintaining that context. Let's see how. So if I go to this agent abstraction, right, you will see there is something called conversational manager, right? What is this conversational manager doing? If I go into the code, by default, if I am not creating my own conversation manager, right, I can create a custom conversation manager to store the context. If I'm not doing it, by default, it uses sliding window conversation manager. And what does it do? Let's take a look at it. By default, the window size of the sliding window conversation manager is 40. That means it will store the last 40 messages, right? After that, it will uh, reduce the context, right? If it is more than that, it will pop it out, right? So in the apply management is what it is checking. If the length of the message is less than equal to the window size, right? Then don't do anything, keep the message, right? Otherwise, reduce the context, right? So in the reduce the context is where the entire logic is there. Uh, so this method handles special case where tool results need to be converted to regular content blocks to maintain. So it does more thing, but it trims the oldest message to reduce the conversation context size, right? So if it becomes more than 40, it reduces the context size, right? That's how it is able to manage the context. Go back again. We'll see where it is actually applying this. So here it is uh, creating the instance of the sliding window message. And then if you go down, this is where it is doing the apply management to self dot messages, right? And in this apply messages, if it is more than 40, it will reduce it. Otherwise, it will keep on appending to the appending part also, let me show you. So in the init, there is a message, right? Yeah, this is the messages, right? So if you look at it, when it does a self dot messages here in the initialization also I can add some messages, um, created messages, but as it converses, this is where it appends the new messages, right? And then at the end, like it this is where it provides a conversation manager, applies a conversation manager. If it goes beyond 40, it trims it. That is how it is managing the conversation history. And in the documentation, you'll see the documentation doesn't talk about in so many details that I had mentioned, but in the documentation, it mentions Strands uses a conversation manager to handle conversation history effectively. The default is a sliding window conversation manager. That's what we saw now, which keeps recent messages and removes older ones when needed, right? The sliding window conversation manager keeps the most recent end message pairs. The default we saw it is 40, removes the oldest messages when the window size is exceeded, handles context window overflow exceptions by reducing context. That also we have seen. Ensures conversations don't exceed model context limit, right? So that's what I wanted to show as part of this recording. There are many other state management thing here. I'm exploring them one by one. Thank you.